You've got the boomers on one side of the culture war, then you have the millennials and Gen Z on the other, and the noise is just constant. But there's this third group, They're sitting quietly. They're not trending, they're just watching. That's Generation X. Today we're going to dig into the psychology of this so-called forgotten middle child and uncover the programming behind the X mind. Yeah, this image pretty much perfectly captures their whole vibe, right? They're seen as these detached, cynical observers of all the chaos. But here's the thing about that smirk. It isn't apathy. It's a really complex mix of experience, skepticism, and a finely tuned BS detector that's been developed over decades. So how did Gen X get so invisible? Well, it didn't happen by accident. Their entire psychology was essentially programmed by a unique set of circumstances that taught them one core lesson. Solve your own problems, try to take up less space, and whatever you do, do not expect anyone to come and save you. To really understand the Gen X mind, you have to start where it was first programmed, their childhood. And for so many of them, the most defining feature of that childhood wasn't a big family dinner, but the silence of an empty house. Okay, look at this number, 7 million. By 1984, that's how many kids between 5 and 13 were regularly left unsupervised after school. This wasn't some niche experience, you guys. This was a mass-scale social experiment that created the very first generation of what we call latchkey kids. And there's actually a psychological term for it, benign neglect. Now, this wasn't about cruelty or abuse. It was a quieter kind of void. It was the absence of adult guidance, of comfort, of having immediate help around. And that environment, well, it wired their brains in a very, very specific way. Think about this. Routine, day in and day out. It systematically built this deep, almost cellular level of self-reliance. I mean, when you fall down and scrape your knee and there's no one there, guess what? You learn to clean it yourself. When you feel scared, you learn to just swallow it. Comfort is not automatic, so you eventually just stop expecting it. And that's the absolute key here. Their famous independence wasn't some personality trait they chose. It was a coping mechanism that eventually hardened into an identity. The inner child just learned a simple rule: handle it yourself and don't bother anyone. Now, on top of this intense self-reliance, their unique position in history gave them this other defining trait. They are literally the only generation to have experienced two completely different realities during their formative years. Just look at this technological leap. Their childhood was physical, it was slow, it was analog. They memorized phone numbers and they actually fixed bike chains. Then right as they were hitting adulthood, boom! The digital revolution hits. They had to adapt to a world of email, dial-up, and eventually smartphones. And this is what gives them this really incredible cognitive advantage. They are psychologically bilingual. They know how to reset a Wi-Fi router, but they also understand how to fix something with a screwdriver and a little bit of patience. This makes them the indispensable translators in today's workplace. Okay, you take that self-reliance and you combine it with the world that they grew up in, and you get this thick layer of protective armor. We tend to call it cynicism, but for a lot of Gen X, it's just realism. I mean, think about it. They literally watched institutions crumble in real time. They learned that presidents could lie, that the threat of nuclear war was a daily reality, that corporate loyalty was a total myth, and that even the future itself could explode right on television. Trust was not the default setting. And that brings us to their signature word, whatever. It's not just a word, it's emotional self-defense. It's a way to manage expectations, to keep disappointment at arm's length. It's not that they don't care, it's that they've learned that caring too much about things you can't control is a recipe for heartbreak. So how do they show they care? Well, it's not with big, grand emotional speeches. That feels kind of unsafe. They show it through action. They handle the problem before you even notice it. They just show up when it matters, no drama required. For Gen X, love is a verb. Okay, so this brings us to where they are right now. All of that training and quiet competence, just handling it, has led them directly to a modern-day pressure cooker. They're cut smack in the middle, managing the decline of their aging boomer parents while also supporting their Gen Z kids through a brutal economy, all while trying to navigate their own careers through multiple recessions. And here's the real danger in all this. The latchkey kid who learned to ask for nothing became the adult everyone asks everything from. And this creates a kind of high-functioning burnout. They don't collapse, they just keep going quietly until maybe their body forces them to stop because they were never ever trained to ask for help. So when you pull it all together, you see a generation that's not defined by noise, but by this quiet capability. They are the bridge. They are the translators. They're the ones who just get the job done while everyone else is busy arguing about it. And all of this leaves us with a really critical thought. Their mechanical intuition, their patience, their ability to solve a problem without a YouTube tutorial, these are becoming extinct skills. As this bridge generation moves on, it forces us to ask a really important question. What happens when the translators are gone? If this got you thinking, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. There's a lot more to unpack and you won't want to miss it.